Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the men and women of the Department of the United States Air Force, in keeping with one of the oldest traditions in military service, pay special tribute to the Headquarters Air Force District of Washington's Colonel Matthew F. Coleman on the occasion of his retirement. The presiding official for today's ceremony is Brigadier General Charles B. McDaniel, United States Air Force, retired. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party. Remain standing for the singing of the National Anthem by Helen McDaniel and signing of the National Anthem by Marley McDaniel.
Stand by. Colors! Tench, hut! Port, arms! Forward, march! Colors, halt, present, arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Port, arms!
Ladies and gentlemen, Chaplain Colonel Paul Sutter will now deliver the invocation.
I invite you to join me in prayer in a manner according to your custom or tradition. Let us pray. Lord, may everything we do and begin with your inspiration, continue with your help, and reach perfection under your guidance. We thank you for bringing Colonel Matthew Coleman's Air Force career to a safe and honorable conclusion. We are grateful for the service he has rendered and his great contributions to our country. By your Spirit, prosper those deeds done according to your will, and so continue his work, even as he retires from it. The impact Matt has made upon the Air Force does not end this day, but continues through the lives of those he has touched along the way. We thank you for blessing us with his friendship and expertise. As he has been a blessing to us, we now ask you to bless him, his wife Carrie, his son Joseph, and his daughter Elizabeth, and all other family members and friends who have supported him throughout his career. Hold them all in the palm of your hand as a new adventure unfolds. Grant Matt confidence, peace, and direction during this time of transition to equip him for any challenges ahead. May your presence now, O Lord, grace this celebration of a wonderful career, now mission complete. Empower us to serve you and our nation faithfully. Renew our strength so that all we say and do may reflect your grace and glory. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Brigadier General Brian Daniel.
I don't know if you'll clap like that once I'm done here. It's been a while. Well, hello everyone. Before I start, I'd like to thank a few people first. Carrie, Joseph, Mr. Cheshire Cat. Elizabeth, you will never live that down, will you? Matt's parents, Daniela, who's joining us from Daytona Beach, and Bruce Coleman. Matt's sister, Melena Morgan, and and her son, Boston. Matt's cousin, Mark Harding and Kim Lawrence. Which are over there. Yep, here we go. Lieutenant Colonel, I'm already retired and I can't even read anymore. Lieutenant General Mike Clean, sir, and his wife, Diana. Lieutenant General retired Brian Kelly and his wife, Garrity Kelly. I was supposed to flip those, but they wouldn't let me, so I tried. I was retired and was trying to get back in, so I thought I'd do it properly. Major General Dan DeVoe, thank you for coming. Brigadier General Select Tim Welter and his wife, Colonel retired Kimberly Welter, welcome. Colonels, chiefs, friends and families, those joining us, and man, what a beautiful crowd this is. Some flashbacks are occurring right now for me, because I'm seeing a lot of past people I've served with, so it's a great to be here. Good afternoon and welcome to the retirement ceremony of Colonel Matt Coleman. See, yeah, that's exactly what I said. An exciting day for the Coleman family and a sad one for the Air Force. Matt has served his great nation for nearly 34 years. I'm my math, all right? I'm from Tennessee, so I can add. The nation, the Air Force, and your family could not be prouder of you and thankful for your service. There is no greater honor than being allowed to retire a fellow airman. And Matt, I want to thank you for this opportunity. It means the world to me, and I will never forget it. We also know that the journey was not taken alone. I would like to thank Carrie, Joseph, and Elizabeth for standing by your side, and Matt by theirs. The Coleman family has sacrificed so much for the nation and each other. The dual military family answered our nation's call and never hesitated. They took care of each other exactly how they took care of their airmen, with encouragement, guidance, understanding, and compassion. Thank you, Coleman family, for your service. It was an honor to have served with you all. Well, this story starts, if you can believe it, not the Korean War like I heard earlier today, but seems like it. The story starts back in the fall of 1989 when a very young Matt graduated and decided he wanted to enlist in the Air Force because the Pizza Hut management job just was not cutting it for him. There's something about being able to handle high-tech equipment versus deep dishes that enlisted him, that he decided to enlist, so he started basic training in 1990. After basic, this newly minted airman became a space system operator, and in his first 6 years was stationed in 4 different locations. Fairchild Air Force Base, which is a great place. Shemya in Alaska, not so great place. RAF Feltworth in the United Kingdom, seems like a cool place. And Onizuka Air Station in California, if you knew there was actually a air station in California. Those were his first 4 bases. But while I was reviewing his enlisted performance reports, there was one bullet that set me back. I was not expecting to see it. His Master Sergeant Supervisor wrote, and I'm going to quote, "His judgment and maturity off duty needs to improve to ensure he remains an exceptional asset to the Air Force." Now, most of the time, off-duty items and reports are, focused on education, volunteer work, leading projects, squadron sports. Man, Matt, your volleyball game must really suck. This one line was not the Matt that I knew. It only took reading a few lines down to see the airman that I knew. Words like highly professional, dedicated, team player, the most capable and knowledgeable airman I've ever supervised started appearing. These characteristics are the ones that we all came to know as Matt. During his enlisted days, he saw a glimpse into the kind of officer he would be. Matt was making a name for himself, more than one other way. He became the only airman to be selected as both a line crew evaluator and instructor, despite only being qualified for 10 months. Man, at 10 months, there's still boom operators and co-pilots taking air samples in the back of a 135 with plastic bags, much less instructing people. Wow, that's just unbelievable. Additionally, Matt was the first airman and only senior airman to qualify in the Cobra Dane crew chief position. He finished a 30-day training program in 1 week. Due to his initiative in preparing, he scored a 4.5 out of 5 on the performance test and a 98 on the knowledge test. I guess that education at Embry-Riddle paid off for you. Or either that or the enlisted, that's what paid off for you. Man, what a fast burner in space. While at RAF Fort Worth, he sprang into action and rendered first aid to an injured waiter at the NCO Club, earning the Air Force Achievement Medal for his selfless act, and earning the Squadron's Airman of the Year for his outstanding performance as a passive system console operator. I don't know what it is, but I'm starting to see a trend in things happening at the club. With you, Matt. Just remember the bullet. Matt was killing it. He took the warning shot from the Master Sergeant, bear down, and executed it with passion and skill. All of his hard work earned him a 2-year scholarship, ROTC scholarship at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University back home in Daytona Beach. They don't have clubs there? Yeah, they probably do. His exceptional performance continued as he earned the Distinguished Graduate from ROTC field training. After graduation, the Air Force sent him to MacDill to wait until his pilot training class started. He became an exercise and inspection officer for the wing, where he executed and designed and built the MacDill's exercise village and developed their trend analysis for the wing's ORI, all resulting in an excellent rating. Not too bad for a butterboard. However, we know Matt loves his off-duty time. And what do young lieutenants do in their off-duty time? They play this wonderful game called Crud at the Officers Club. Well, this particular night, there was another young lieutenant in attendance. She's sitting on the front row, Carrie, and was keeping score between some snake eaters and the butter bars. So Matt once he finished the game, he moseyed, as he stated, over to Carrie so he could lay down his mojo. They talked for a while until Matt decided he wanted another beer. That's what he said. Remember the Master Sergeant's statement earlier?
We're going there?
Yes, we are. Well, it popped up again. He actually walked towards the bar to talk to a few blondes at the bar. And he talked for a very long time, which, they ended up all leaving together. except Carrie was left at the club. Man, I can't wait. The next week, Matt, Mr. Rico Suave, for those who don't know who that is, you can Google, walked over to Carrie and asked her if she was going to a mutual friend's party that evening. Now, Carrie aimed both barrels at Matt. He says, I don't know. Is your little blonde friend from last week going to be there too? Yeah, Matt's gyros recaged there, and the response came out in a, no. See, he still got it. I see that you still use that. No. And that wasn't the last time. It seems there would be another merge during an Embry-Riddle campus visit with Carrie. While showing Carrie where he received his higher education, which was not at the academy, like Carrie, a chance intercept of Matt was executed by a young woman. And you guessed it, a woman with blonde hair. This intercept resulted in a very long hug and a leg pop. Carrie was the one who actually handled it the best, as she did a small wave with the left hand that had the ring on it. You like blondes, don't you?
Coincidence.
Is that why you wore a blonde wig at the spouse's dining in? Anyway, these two lieutenants knew they were made for each other. Their reasons are very different. I'm not going to say who said what, but I'll let you guess. One said, I knew the other was the one because they were able to get passes to the Kennedy Space Center to view John Glenn's launch into space on the space shuttle. While the other one started, it was the duck noises made on the apartment balcony and seeing a flock of ducks come up to be fed. Well, there is true love at its best. Matt and Carrie were married on 29 March 1999, 2 weeks before Matt started UPT. Since it is 22 March, today, I would like to congratulate you both in advance on your 25th wedding anniversary. Now, a quick story, I'm going to do it anyway. A quick story about their wedding, which has been approved by both parties and provided for me to include in the ceremony. The wedding was originally planned to be in December, but see, I already got him squirming, that's right where I need him. But it seems that Carrie had the potential to deploy. So we're going to move it up, and then Matt finds out that his pilot training start date has moved up, so now we're down to about a month of planning for this wedding. And they were only going to plan it, and they needed to have this done because they wanted to use the joint spouse assignment system. So there's some thinking there. So when pilot training at the end. However, this compact planning produced some intense moments. And it seems that Carrie gave Matt some verbal counseling. Unfortunately, Matt's mom, Daniela, was in the room. Now, she said what a Coleman that I've become to know probably would have said at the same situation. You know it's not too late, Matt. So, wow, can you imagine? Now I know where Matt gets his quick wit and his conflict resolution. But I would have loved to have been there to see his face when that comment came out and to understand what was going on in his brain as he tried to figure out how to get out of that one. But hey, it obviously worked out. She's still with you, and you better get more than that, because there's more in here. Matt selected the KC-135 out of pilot training and became a tanker driver, the best aircraft in the Air Force inventory. Our opinion, a true fly-by-wire aircraft. While at Altus, he earned the Distinguished Graduate in his class, top 10%. I was at Altus at the same time. I was, and I have to ask you, were you trained upstairs or downstairs? Upstairs. So the Monkey Boys took care of you. That's why you earned your DG not given from the chickens from downstairs. Matt's first KC-135 assignment was at Robins Air Force Base, Georgia, home of the 19th Air Refueling Wing Black Knights. And he still has his, and I still have mine. And the 99th ARS Ramrods. And boy, what a beautiful place that was. What a great first assignment for a lieutenant. I can vouch for that. Like most of the assignments of tanker drivers, the assignment could be summed up in one word: deployed. It's no different for Matt. As you all know, after 2001, tanker business kind of picked up, and we're deployed all over the Middle East. Matt deployed over 5 times to Qatar and Kyrgyzstan, supporting combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, earning 5 air medals. As I read more of his reports, I also learned that Matt has an issue with KC-135 engines. I don't know why, the most reliable engine in the fleets. For some reason, it seems Matt loses one on missions at least once or twice a year. I've only shut down 1. And you shut down 2 every year in your first assignment. Man, what a record. And that's your first assignment. More is to come. Holy smokes. I don't know if I want to write that down or not. Matt's top-rated performance continued during those busy times. He returned to Altus, an upgraded aircraft commander, earning again Distinguished Graduate of his class. The 99th Air Refueling Squadron commander selected him for flights to go to flight safety school. And soon afterwards, he would be a key player in the KC-10 mishap investigation. His attention to detail led the team to find the cause, which was a 30-year design flaw. And it was corrected. After Robins, the Warriors of the North came calling. And nobody knows who that was or who they are. That was all the way up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, to become the Wings Flight Safety Officer, where he hit the ground running. He revitalized the Wings Flight Safety Program by developing metrics which identified multiple deficiency areas and prepared squadron safeties for Air Mobility Command's triennial safety review. His efforts ensured Wing received an excellent rating by Air Mobility Command. He earned the number 1 of 13 company grade officers on the staff, the Operations Group Aircraft Commander of the Year, number 1 of 51, and top 5%, 284 of the Wings CGOs that first year. Over the next 2 years at Grand Forks, Matt would deploy some more, move up to be the Wing Zec, and then later Flight Commander in 912th, the best tanker squadron in the service. I'm not biased by any manner.
Here's the commander.
His unmatched leadership would earn him Wing Safety CGO of the Year, or Wing Staff CGO of the Year, number 1 of 12, number 5 of 288 CGOs in the Wing, number 1 of 36 CGOs in the squadron. And an amazing one, AMC Safety Officer of the Year, 1 of 80 in the entire command. 4 more air medals and an Aerial Achievement Medal, and his selection to Air Mobility Command's internship program. Despite all those achievements, the addition of Joseph Coleman to the family would be the icing on the cake for the North Dakota tour. And he is a blessing, I know he is. He's a great young man. Matt's AMC internship at Scott Air Force Base, Illinois would start in the Tanker Airlift Control Center, the hub of action worldwide for Air Mobility Command. He was a chief of technical integration, where he worked Mobility Air Force's $1.1 billion secure C2 program, which enabled him, or which earned him number 1 of 13 directorate CGOs and the XON CGO of the Year. Then he moved to the A1 to work squadron commander development and assignments. While there, he orchestrated the first ever MAF-wide squadron commander board. He developed squadron commander briefings and conducted a C-130 leadership review to help ID the future leaders of that weapon system. Again, he was labeled a can-do leader and trusted advisor. Earning headquarters AMC A1K CGO of the Year and the division's 1 of 36 action officers. He finished the internship as a speechwriter for AMC Commander, where he authored over 80 speeches and 70 key strategic messages. Man, I should have gotten you to write this one. He was number 4 of 257 headquarters majors. For all of his hard work in the command, Matt would now go to Air Command and Staff College down in Alabama to enjoy a slow year, as we're all told, because it is Alabama. But slow is not in Matt's DNA. He was student flight commander, received most outstanding performer honors throughout the year, finished the school in the top 20% of 510 field grade officers, and was the winner of the Commandant's Leadership Award, presented the student with the greatest peer leadership, contribution, and chain of command assessment for the class. So where do you send an all-star like this? To the Pentagon. No. He gets to go Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam in Hawaii to be the director of staff for the 15th Wing, where he would lead a team made up of over 20 Air Force specialty codes. You guessed it, he hit it out of the park while leading this team. He forged mission focus and synergy with the Guard unit on the base, which is no small feat. The wing commander said he was a dominant leader and mentor and was his number 2 of 50 wing majors. Matt was then moved across the base to the 613th Air Ops Center, not that he got enough of that at the TACC, but to be a senior director. Just like the Tinker Airlift Control Center at Scott, this is the focal point for air operations in the Pacific. He played a key role in ensuring 335 patients were airlifted to required care, repatriated 12 KIA-MIA warriors, and directed 15 non-combatant evacuation operations during Operation Safe Passage, the response to the Japanese earthquakes. Thus earning him number 1 of 29 AOC majors and was the commander's most trusted senior director. AMC saw what they had in Matt and decided to send him to Travis next to add more experience to that tool bag as operations officer of the 573rd Global Support Squadron, a 9/11 force of Air Mobility Command. Squadron was made up of airmen from 27 different Air Force specialty codes. Kind of getting a trend here, you see that? It's coming again later. Matt ensured these airmen were ready to deploy by designing wing level block training, which increased training by 20%, and finding mobile teams to come help train with the backlog. Because of his efforts and leadership, the squadron earned the Contingency Response Unit of the Year, and he earned the number 1 of 13 majors in the group and the number 1 DO in the group. Now this chapter also has a special meaning. The Coleman family grew by number 1 more when Miss Elizabeth came. And a wonderful young lady she is also. The wing commander at Fairchild, having read Matt's outstanding record and recognizing what a gold mine he had found, hired Matt as the wing's next chief of safety. So the Colemans are on the move again to the great Northeast. As chief of safety, he repurposed 14 million in facilities to close 16 UEI discrepancies in past 8 exercises. He was selected to be the board president of a C-17 mishap. Just like years earlier, he identified a fleet-wide engine and TO discrepancy and corrected it, therefore preventing future C-17 engine damage. Having seen Matt in action during the exercises, he was then hired to command the 92nd OSS, Operational Support Squadron, one of the most challenging squadrons to lead because of its diversity and responsibilities, from weather, air ops, air traffic control, and aircrew training, to just name a few. His squadron played a vital role in the wing's success during Air Mobility Command's nuclear operational readiness inspection. A couple of Matt's sections were evaluated as strengths, and his leadership of a no-fail O-plan deployment team earned highly effective 3 times, which helped earn the wing the U.S. Stratcom's Omaha Trophy. The number 1 out of 30 wings for Stratcom in the strategic aircraft category. This was the first time in 14 years a tanker unit had won that award, and he brought it back to Air Mobility Command. Not only did the wing win it that year, they won it the next because of his leadership. Matt earned the number 1 of 17 squadron commanders. The airmen at Fairchild discovered that Matt had a taste for coffee. I did not know that Matt was a pinky out coffee drinker. I asked several airmen if there was any dirt on him, and almost every single one of them mentioned his $3,000 coffee maker espresso machine in his office. Everyone entering that building was asking where was Starbucks. Matt, I'm going to have to call Tanya. Well, actually, your wife was there, so she was running out. She even knew this. Now I understand why you were costing the club money having your own coffee shop. Remember earlier I said he encouraged airmen? Well, here's an example of it when he was a squadron commander. There was a captain briefing Matt on the COMAF-4's apportionment and allocation process to help him understand the concept. At the end of the brief, he looked the captain straight in the eyes and said, I honestly have no idea what the hell it is you do, how you do it, but you're doing a great job, so keep it up. That's empowering leadership right there. He never looked past the experts. He gave the airmen guidance and then let them take charge, but he also held them accountable. He did not get in their chili. He let them grow and develop into leaders. He also built trust between other squadron commanders, not trying to be better than them, which is very important in creating a team. That's the Matt we know. One last thing I learned, there's a couple of things I learned at Fairchild about him, but there's another one that I'll let him he'll tell you about, but I'm just going to say, fear the scorpion. He can tell that one later. After Fairchild, the Colemans moved to DC so Matt could attend the Eisenhower School of National Security and Resource Strategy, and then on to the Joint Staff as a political military strategist planner. As a strategic planner, he synchronized the requirements for budgeting, coordination, U.S. CENTCOM sourcing, the directives, and facilitated a China readiness review, which is obviously in high demand right now. A busy year where he was the number one of 27 AOs and a director. Matt then moved back across the river to become the Chief Department of Administration at the Inter-American Defense College at Fort McNair, where he earned the number one of 22 joint and international students, number one colonels on staff. He recruited over 200 plus joint international students to attend the college, developed a COVID plan so the college could still operate, and ensured their accreditation by developing ethics policy. If you know Matt, he still wanted more. He wanted to be operational. And he got that shot again. He was selected to be the vice commander at Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates. This assignment allowed him to fly the KC-10 and experience the Gucci life. Maybe that training with that $3,000 coffee maker prepped you for Gucci life, but no tanker guy would ever drink Gucci coffee. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
They put a pizza in my lap.
Yep, we don't do that until 135. During this assignment, Matt was involved in one of the largest NEO operations in history. We all remember the pullout of Afghanistan and the crisis on the backside. Matt deployed to IUD Qatar to help lead the Humanitarian Operations Center. Words cannot explain the tempo of this 3-week operation. The team coordinated to convert hangars, warehouses, and tents into lodging facilities, procured bathrooms and shower stations, facilitated medical care, established passenger screening, and coordinated onward movement of passengers. What I just read is not even half of what they had to do. As stated earlier, this operation was the largest in history, so let me paint the picture. There were 124,000 civilians evacuated from Kabul, of which 6,000 were American. The most people evacuated on one day was 19,000. The average number of people evacuated a day was 7,500. Those accomplishments that his team did is absolutely unbelievable. Matt was there in the middle of it, leading over 700 airmen in this high-pressure event. We learned recently that Matt will be receiving the Superior Honor Award from the Department of State. What an accomplishment. If you ask Matt, this operation is one of his most positive memories. Matt, I want to salute you for that operation. Now, it's kind of hard to follow that, but Matt will finish his career as a Director of Safety at the Air Force District of Washington, a familiar area and a passion of his. I have spoke extensively about his professional career, but let me just quickly talk about some of his other accomplishments during his career. Did you know that he is a watch designer? He got tired of all those pointy-nose drivers walking around with their stamped Breitlings. Is there one back there?
Couple.
Okay. This is what he told me. But I'm backing him up on that. So he contacted Bremont in England and designed the KC-135 very specific watch. It's a very nice watch. Only 135 were made initially, and each are numbered. And he has number 135. Good pick. I just happen to have number 92. It's a good pick too. But business was so successful, that they've now launched version number 2, which you can still buy online if you want to. No endorsements from me, but it will not be the same. He's a great MC and character actor at Spouses Dining Inns. I'm not saying that there's a video out there, but he kills the Brady Bunch dance. There's still just something about Matt in Air Force clothes. He taught one of his children outdoor bathroom etiquette and encouraged it until it was in a 4-star's front yard. You didn't think I was going to tell that one? Somebody else gave me that story. To become an ace, an aviator must destroy 5 enemy aircraft. As a tanker pilot, that is kind of hard to do from the front end. Matt might be an ace in engine shutdowns. Maybe, okay. I don't know, he'll have to tell you. I don't know if Matt has 5 air refueling plugs as a pilot. You're going to retire, so maybe some? Yeah, okay, yeah, should. That was during the time of multi-capable airmen in the 90s where we were teaching everybody to do everything. Now, the kind of ace, what I'm fixing to mention is the kind of ace he probably wish never happened. So to celebrate this accomplishment, I am going to give you a silhouette of a hospital bed. So you can paint 5 beds on your car and take that hero picture. Matt has had, unbelievably, 5 back surgeries. He probably has more convalescent leave than he has flying hours. However, it has provided for some interesting conversation when he's on his pain meds. Those some good conversations. When asked who his hero was, there was no doubt in my mind who that would be. Matt's hero is Jimmy Doolittle, for what he did for aviation in the interwar years and what he did in 1942 over Tokyo. Matt has had a very special relationship with the surviving Doolittle Raiders. Matt went to the reunions. The stories he tells about the Raiders is incredible. I'll never forget it. And talk about watches. Matt has actually touched and held Jimmy Doolittle's watch, which is amazing. I want to thank Matt for asking at the time if Fairchild could host the 74th anniversary toast ceremony. We had the honor of having Army Air Force Staff Sergeant David Thatcher, crew number 7, present. One of the last 2 living Raiders at the time come to Fairchild and speak. What an amazing event. Airmen were able to see and talk to an Air Force legend, and it was all because of Matt. It meant a lot to the airmen and me also, so thank you, Matt, for that wonderful opportunity. I asked both Matt and Carrie what they wanted those in attendance to know about them. So here I'm going to read the responses. I'm not going to tell you who said what, and you have to figure it out. I would let every person that is sitting in the club know they meant something to me, and there is a special place for them in my life. My entire adult life has been an Air Force adventure through all those PCSs, TDYs, and deployments. I've met so many amazing people. Some of them are gone. Most of them are still with us. But all of them are in my heart. The folks attending and the ones that could not make it, each and every one of them have helped to shape me into the person I am. The other response. We're a dedicated team whose personalities complement each other. We have always found a way to balance our careers and family life. Through lots of hard work and planning, we have been able to successfully navigate all the moves and challenges that come with a life in the Air Force. People tell us we made it look easy, but what they don't know is behind the scenes, there was a lot of sacrifice and compromise. The goal was to always stay together, even if it meant turning down professional and personal opportunities. Matt Carey also wanted me to let you know that she thinks that she would not have achieved as much as she did in the Air Force if it wasn't for you, for your support and encouragement, and always believed in her, that you always believed in her and that things would work out both for your careers. That's what we thought actually of her for you. So let me say, Matt, you and your family have made a huge impact on the Air Force and the airmen who served with you. The time has been filled with separations, missed specific occasions, life-changing joy, adventure, and love for each other. You have served with honor and stayed true to yourself. You did things for the airmen and those in need, not for personal gain or recognition. You are the American airman and should be proud of it. You've heard me say this numerous times. You answered your nation's call, and they can't take that away from you. So be proud to be an airman. We all thank you for your service and wish you, Carrie, Joseph, and Elizabeth the best in the next chapter of the Colemans. God bless you, and Godspeed, my friend. Coleman 01, you're clear to land.
Wait a second. Are you sure? Yeah. No. Yes, that's one.
Please rise as Brigadier General McDaniel presents Colonel Coleman with the Legion of Merit 1st Oak Leaf Cluster. Attention to orders. Colonel Matthew F. Coleman distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as the Director of Safety, Headquarters Air Force District of Washington, Joint Base Andrews, Maryland, from 17 June 2022 to 30 June 2024. During this period, Colonel Coleman was responsible for the major command level oversight of the 11th Wings and 316th Wings safety programs and directed 2 in-depth staff-assisted visits. His reviews provided the assessments needed to the transition the 11th Wing's 33 units, 39 tenant units, and 18,000 person base population to Air Force safety standards after 10 years of Navy management, and postured the 316th Wing's 28 units, 22 safety program management elements, and 1,500 personnel to successfully pass a Joint Air Force District of Washington and Air Mobility Command Higher Headquarters inspection. Additionally, the 11th Wing program review gave Colonel Coleman the means to develop a unit manning document expanding the office by 2 positions, establishing funding for another, and securing training for 5 safety professionals. Colonel Coleman also worked with the Air Mobility Command and General Counsel for installations, energy and environmental for the $1.3 million purchase of the North Andrews Employment Park. His efforts enabled the development of a $65 million aircraft hazardous cargo pad and explosive ordnance Disposal Proficiency Training Range, safeguarding 8 flying missions and ensuring the Joint Task Force National Capital Region's no-fail mission. Finally, Colonel Coleman established a compliance for the 11th Wings and 316th Wings explosive safety programs by integrating Air Force safety instructions into the White House Communications Agency and Joint Air Defense Operations Center, as well as implementing standard operating procedures in both wings, normalizing operations in 71 facilities and a $45 million air defense system. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Coleman culminate a long and distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Please remain standing as Brigadier General McDaniel retires Colonel Coleman.
Publish the order.
Department of the Air Force, Washington, District of Columbia, order number AL000983 by order of the Secretary of the Air Force, Colonel Coleman is retired from active duty, effective 1 July 2024, after more than 32 years of faithful and honorable duty. Please be seated. Colonel Coleman, we are pleased to present you with the following certificate from our Commander-in-Chief. It reads, Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. Colonel Matthew Coleman, I extend my personal gratitude and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you and your patriotic service of our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces helped protect your fellow airmen during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with long traditions of the finest military in the world, embodied the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Commander-in-Chief. Colonel Coleman, we are pleased to present you with the following certificate from our Chief of Staff of the Air Force. It reads, Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Colonel Matthew F. Coleman, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of July 2024. Signed, Major General Daniel A. DeVoe, Commander, Air Force District of Washington. Also signed, General David W. Alvin, Chief of Staff of the Air Force. Brigadier General McDaniel will now present Colonel Coleman's spouse, Mrs. Carolyn C. Coleman, with an Air Force retirement pin to bid on Colonel Coleman.
Did Jack get that?
We didn't see anything.
Just payback.
Brigadier General McDaniel will now present Mrs. Coleman with a certificate of appreciation from the United States Air Force. Mrs. Coleman, your commitment to the Air Force, your family, and your spouse's profession during his career has been a model for others to follow. For this, we are forever grateful. With our deep appreciation, admiration, and respect, we present this certificate as remembrance of your years as a member of the Air Force family. You may be seated as well. Colonel Coleman will now be presented with our nation's colors in honor of his 32 years, 9 months, and 20 days of service. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represented the original 13 colonies, while the stars represented the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe, and on the fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every American who served our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag that we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on land and sky around the world. It is their responsibility and our responsibility to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Coleman, United States Air Force, retired.
So many words of advice. This was one of them, because I was told this would be an absolute blur. So before I get going on many things, yes, glasses. The watch that General McDaniel mentioned, the holder of it is Mr. Larry Kelly, who's a longtime associate of the Doolittle Raiders as well, but he has graciously brought it. If you've seen the photos of General Doolittle on the deck of the Hornet the morning before they launched, or is the day prior before they launched, when they're sitting there pinning the medals that were presented to those airmen by the Japanese and they were going to return them, you'll see a watch on Jimmy Doolittle's wrist. It's the same watch he wore on the Doolittle Tokyo raid. It's the watch he wore when he put on his 4th star, and that is this watch right here. So, before I jump into formalities, wow, that's loud. I will stay back and not touch it. Anyhow, when I asked General McDaniel to do this, if it wasn't the first question, I think it was probably at least one of the first 3 questions. Are we doing this with or without mustaches? Well, it is March, and after a vigorous east-west head shake from the House General, I told him I decided not to wear a mustache. However, in solidarity, just for a moment, because there are the folks out here, and also, at DAFRA, this would just be from a good grow night, if you know what I'm talking about. And for the very few people that are in the know and understand why I am still having problems in front of crowds, thank you for helping me the last year and a half when I needed it. But to help me get through this, please forgive me. I'm gonna have some coffee. It's Colombian, don't worry. So for the formalities and the good stuff, I can't say thank you enough to Helen McDaniel and Marley. I've been watching them do this for 10 years, and you just get better. You do. You're amazing, and I really appreciate it. Color guard. Color guard, you did a fabulous job. Lieutenant Colonel Brian Sikkema, one of my flight commanders from Fairchild, and when you're sitting on it's easy to wing, but when you're sitting on a staff and you have 3 people working for you, it's kind of hard to find somebody to help plan something like this, so I really appreciate all the work you did. This is amazing. Thank you very much. Also, Senior Master Sergeant Anna Kane, thank you. She was a staff sergeant that worked for me when I was a squadron commander. Captain Caitlin O'Neill, also helping out Brian Sikkema. And Chaplain Sutter, great words, and I appreciate you doing this for me. Oh, you're here, sorry. Our ushers and escorts, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. And General McDaniel, thank you so much for doing this. I'd also like to thank General Plain for being here. You were most gracious when you were in Southcom, and over at NDU for opening up your office and always giving me great mentoring. Again, thank you for taking time to be here. Lieutenant John Kelly, it was nice meeting you today. It was great. Very nice to meet you. Glad you're here. Garrity. You're awesome. So General DeVoe, known you for 12 years now. been TDY with you. You're my commander. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good to and you signed some lovely documents for me. Thank you. And the Welters. Thank you so much for being here. So to jump into more of the formalities, I would be remiss if I didn't thank everyone else here today. Honestly, as I stand here looking out at this crowd, I'm so incredibly humbled, and I mean that from the heart. For those of you that are local, and I know local here is not necessarily meaning of anything, because you could be 14 miles away and that turns into an hour and a half. So I appreciate you taking the time to be out here. For all of you that took the time to book flights, hotels, get rental cars, and actually come here and spend this day with me, I am so humbled. I really appreciate it. And for the folks that are watching this live, thank you for taking time out of your day as well. And Rob, if whichever camera it is you're watching, get well. All right, so I've never been a big fan of standing behind a podium, let alone talking into a microphone. I would definitely more prefer to be down here, if you remember from your squadron time, and just speaking from the diaphragm and just walking around, you know, just like they teach us in SOS. But I have a script to help keep me on track because there's just so much going through my head, and it's nice to have something here to help me focus. So in 27 days, it will be April 18th. This is a significant day if you're a fan of history, not necessarily because that is the day Jimmy Doolittle and 80 and 79 amazing men with him took off and bombed Tokyo. While that is an amazing feat, what's less known and something you won't even find in an outdated bathroom reader of the most obscure and irrelevant facts of history is that's the day 18-year-old Matt Coleman was on a bus headed to Lackland Air Force Base for an evening of pick him up, put him down, and getting an amazing haircut where I lost my glorious 80s bangs. So I've really struggled with what to say up here because how do you encapsulate 34 years of your life? If you spend any amount of time around me jaw-jacking on any topic under the sun, you'll find that I usually wind up asking a lot of questions as we plot a course for the weeds. I've always been intrigued by the finer details of the story or event because there's so much more than what we see or what is presented. Instead of that one-dimensional story, I want the whole story. And for me, I'd say I guess I'm the doppelganger of Paul Harvey for doing the same thing, so I can say, and that's the rest of the story. In preparing for this moment, I took a step back to look beyond the superficial one-dimensional story that makes up these 34 years. So at the 50,000 foot level, here's what I see. 18 April 1990, basic training. 8 December 96, separated on a 2-year ROTC scholarship to Embry-Riddle.
Yeah.
Right there, buddy. 30 June 98, back on active duty. 19 May 2000, graduated pilot training. 22 March 24, retirement ceremony. And then 30 June 2024, that will be my last day on active duty. There are 3 other dates in here that need to be mentioned to drop us down to the 40,000 foot level. 29 March 1999, married the beautiful Carolyn Claire Fia. You don't have to do public math. Thank you for pointing out it's 25 years next week, so. And yes, I already got her gift. On 6 March 2004, Joseph Brian Coleman was born. More public math. 2 weeks ago, he turned 20. And on 21 December 2012, the beautiful Elizabeth Lynn Coleman was born. So I would venture to say these 3 dates are the most significant because the finer details of this journey have a direct impact on these 3 people that mean the most to me. Now, to get back on track, in between all of these dates are the details that make up the rest of the story that fascinates me. I lived the last 34 years, and I can tell you a story or 9 about almost anything, and I think you know that. As I looked at the time, as I looked at the time in the last couple of weeks though, I do see it in a lot more different light. So dropping down to the 30,000 foot level, I know General McDaniel hit a lot of the stuff, but for me, that to put that fine detail to it, spring 1990, 23rd BMTS, Flight 360, all present and accounted for. Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, summer 1990, 53rd Student Training Squadron at Lowry Air Force Base, where the Pet Piranha Spike was. Where's Frank Scalero? Yes. He knows because he got there a few months after me. But then 1990 to 1992, 5th Satellite Control Squadron, Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington. 1992 to 1993, the 16th Space Surveillance Squadron, Cobra Dane or Dud Dane. Shemia, and then later Erickson Air Force Station, Alaska. 1993, 1995, 5th Space Surveillance Squadron, RAF Feltwell, United Kingdom. 1995-96, Secretary of the Air Force, Special Projects, Onizuka Air Station. I used to not be able to say NRO, but I can say that now. So, as he said, 96 to 98, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Daytona, Det 157. 98-99, 6th Air Refueling Wing, casual status, MacDill, where I met the beautiful Carolyn Coleman. And then 99-2000, 71st Flying Training Wing, Vance Air Force Base, Oklahoma, 2000-2003. 99th Air Refueling Squadron, the Black Knights, Robbins Air Force Base, Georgia. I'm going somewhere with all this. 2003 to 2006, 9/12, 2006-2009, Scott Air Force Base for the TACC and AMC, 535th Airlift Squadron, 15th Wing and 16th AOC at Hickam. And then 2012-2004, you might know that place, the CRW, Travis Air Force Base. 2014-2017, 92nd OSS The Wizards, we own it. 2017 to 2018, Eisenhower School, 18 to 19, Joint Staff J5, Pentagon, 19 to 21, Inter-American Defense College with Southcom. Fort McNair, 380th Air Expeditionary Wing, Kenya, the Heavies. Al Dhafra, 22-24 here at Andrews. So not counting basic training and garden spot in Texas, I'm looking at 20 different assignments that were permanent changes of station or permanent change of assignment. To take all that and drop down to the 20,000 foot level, I would say that is where all the TDYs, temporary duties were left, where I left and went off, left home station and did a lot of other fun things. So I'm gonna pull the throttles back just a little bit more, pushing the nose over so we can descend down to the 10,000 foot level. I would say that is where all the work was happening. Pick a location, and again, I'm going to tell you 2 or 9 stories, and you'll probably just say, please stop. Sorry. So whether it was cool mission events or just some of the standard buffoonery you would expect of a young guy in his late teens or 20s, or the shenanigans you would expect from air crew, that's where a lot of the fun happened. But I'm gonna finally take it back where I can drop down to that low level altitude, because for me, that's where the story is. Whether you were here in the audience, stone cold. Strong coffee. So whether you're here in the audience, watching on the live feed, or you don't even know I'm retiring today, every person I've interacted with over these 34 years, you've had such a profound impact on my career, my life, and who I am. While I can sit here and tell you story after story, they're just stories at the end of the day. For me, and I honestly mean this, it's the people. I have formed the bonds with so many people. It is the people that have made me who I am, and all those people that fill all the white space of my story. To be honest with all of you though, I have to give out 3 shouts. There's, when you're on Shemmy with the Cobra Dane, everything's Cobra something. So I had the Cobra mom, who was Sue Garcia, and the Cobra dad, Nick Carew, and what were my exact words I wanted to say here, that gave me the gently abusive vectors to an all-thrust, no-vector senior airman. That might be tied to your Master Sergeant statement. There is also a Lieutenant General Mark Ramsey who couldn't be here today, but the KC-10 Class A you'd mentioned, that's where I first met him. I'm not gonna lie, after I was all set, after my first commitment as a pilot, I was set, I'm done with this, I'm gonna go fly for the airlines. He re-blued me, brought me back into the light, and I'm here because of those three people, to be honest. So without your guidance and mentorship, I'm not here. So thank you very much. Before I close this out, being the details guy that I am, I want to throw some numbers out. So before I do this, these aren't meant to, hey, look at me. Looking here, I can see so many people that have done the exact same thing I have. But this for me is for my family, and it really fills in the rest of the story. So as I was preparing for this, I started thinking about what Carrie and I have been through in almost 25 years of marriage. Stone cold. What we've been through as a dual military couple has had a direct impact on my children. So here are the numbers that captured 26 years in a post 9/11 environment. TDYs, 61. 6 of those were deployments between Kyrgyzstan and Qatar. That's 930 days gone, 452 days overseas. United Arab Emirates, 365 days gone. Pilot training, 390 days gone, for a total of 1,694 total days that I was gone. Factoring carry in, 5 deployments broken up between Qatar, Afghanistan, and Iraq, 1,427 days gone. That comes out to 3,121 total days we were apart, and that's not even counting the TDYs. So 8.5 years throwing in TDYs, we're pushing 10 years of our 25 years that we weren't together. So, I love you. Joseph, born March 6, 2004. For your life, I've been away from you 939 days. And for Elizabeth, born 21 December 2012, I've been away from you for 619 days. Thank you for putting up with that. Like I said, I'm not special. There are folks in this audience that have been away from their families just as I have. This is just my story. This is Paul Harvey, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. So I would like to give you a few gifts. So for these, don't worry, I've got more fun gifts, if you will, at home waiting for you. But what these are, Elizabeth and Joseph, he doesn't need flowers. I'll get him a Pabst Blue Ribbon when we get home. But Elizabeth and Joseph, what these are, this is a gift that, for me, it's something that ties me to you, and it's something that, wherever Kate is, Stone Cold, it's something that you will always have of me, and it's something that I always remember you by. And I picked these because it was moments that I thought. What I've got is one of my flight caps. Each of them, this flag, has been on 5 of my 7 deployments in my helmet bag, so they've got quite a bit of flight time over Iraq and Afghanistan. You can't go wrong with the Air Force crest, so I'm sorry, my Army and Marine brothers. And a picture that when I look at it, I think of them. It's something I want you to have from now into the future, that you can look at and know that it's a personal connection to me, because I love you two so much. So in closing, if there's a song I could pick to fade to black to, I keep thinking of one. That song's by Jimmy Buffett, and it's called Changes in Attitudes, Changes in Latitudes. One stanza from that for me stands out. Please no, I'm not going to try and sing it. Yesterdays are over my shoulder, so I can't look back for too long. There's just too much to see waiting in front of me, and I know that I just can't go wrong. Thank you, everybody.
Please be seated. Now, there are two items that Colonel Coleman has asked me to introduce, and I mean the better Colonel Coleman. Sorry, ma'am, I can't call you by your first name. It feels egregious. So I will refer you as the better Colonel Coleman. So better Colonel Coleman has two items. First one, there is an actual guest book in the back, but there is also a plaque where you can write your name on one of the tokens and drop it in. You know Colonel Coleman will open it and then cross-reference what he was here, so he's going to know if you don't follow instructions. The second part is very near and dear to me. I wrote this before I realized that there are children, chaplains, and a wide array of officers, so we are going to amend the words a little bit to accommodate the crowd. Everybody is here because Colonel Coleman meant something to you. I mean, I'm here because you said it was open bar, but it's not. That was a lie. But we're here because it's important. Colonel Coleman knew me as a staff sergeant and is a big reason why I decided to stay in the Air Force. And as a leader, he has always known exactly what to say. He has a way with words. And so there are two nuggets of wisdom that it is my pleasure to share with you all. The first one is that many people throughout your career really just need to eat a bag of ducks. If you know him, you know that you've heard that too. The other one that Colonel Coleman says on the regular, let me think of how to word this one, that you have a finite amount of forks to give over your career. And if you expend all of those forks on things that don't require it, you will run out. Well, most recently I saw Colonel Coleman and he told me that his tank was empty. He had finally run out of forks to give. So there is a poem that I think sums up how you're feeling. I've no more forks to give. My forks have runneth dry. I've tried to go fork shopping, but there's no forks left to buy. I've no more forks to give, although more forks I've tried to get. I'm over my fork budget, and now I'm in forking debt. You see, though, the better Colonel Coleman needs you to be able to give a fork from time to time, and in fact, you can buy them. So, she wanted me to present to you, it is a jar of fucks. You can take one out anytime you need it, and if that one runs dry as well, Amazon has 2-day shipping. All right, let's wrap this up. The men and women of the United States Air Force are proud to have served with Colonel Coleman and wish him and Mrs. Coleman every success in their future endeavors. Please rise for the playing and singing, you all have to, of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. invite everyone to attend a reception immediately following the ceremony. Please join Brigadier General McDaniel in congratulating Colonel and Mrs. Coleman, the receiving line in the back of the room. Thank you for attending, and we wish you a pleasant day.